Good morning. How are you today? Breaking the spell with Dennett. I have a fair amount to go through today, so I may have to break this up into a couple of videos. But let's get into it. Dennett says that his purpose, the spell, breaking the spell he talks about is the taboo against an investigation into religion. This is what he says the taboo is, because he spends all this time worrying that if he asks questions about religion or if he investigates it scientifically, then he'll somehow damage religion or a bunch of people or something like that. It's a little bit ridiculous. He says that religion is well, we already talked about that in the first chapter, right? Today we're going to be talking about chapter 3. And he likes to use the term brights. He says that brights are atheists. And then he says that maybe someday religion might help people achieve the level of citizenship and morality found in brights. Well, Stalin and Hitler, they had a lot of citizenship and morality. He claims that bigotry, murderous fanaticism, oppression, cruelty, and forced ignorance are all attributable to religion. Couldn't the same things also be said about atheism? Couldn't about all those things be said about humans in general? This is the problem, is that the new atheists, the four horsemen, what do you want to talk about it, they make all these claims against religion as a whole. They make no claims against humanity as a whole. And isn't that one and the same? People have different beliefs, humans have different beliefs, and humans are susceptible to error. Humans are susceptible to making mistakes. Their religion is just an aside. It's like saying beliefs are a horrible cause of ignorance and fanaticism and cruelty. Beliefs are a horrible cause for fanaticism, oppression, and cruelty. But everybody has them. Everybody has beliefs. To take specific beliefs and recategorize them as religion may be convenient, but it doesn't change the state of humanity. Now, I'd like to focus in on chapter 3, where he displays a significant level of propaganda. Now, he says that, religion is propaganda, but he himself is guilty of propaganda. I'm going to show where that is. I got a little ahead of myself. I read ahead, and I read one of the appendix, and it's generally, the book is pleasant reading, although boring and inconsequential. But let's go back, and in chapter 3 he makes a digression. This is on page 60. He says, I'm going to make a digression here. Now, why would he make a digression? As if to, when in fact his digression is the main point that he's trying to make. He says, okay, I'm going to examine religion scientifically, but first I'm going to make this little digression. But the digression itself, sorry, it's windy out, it's going to reduce the sound on the video, I apologize. Digression itself is his main point. And it's, I'll leave a note here on this page so I don't lose my page of where I am. There we go. Page 60, right. He said that the theory of evolution, okay, right? He says it's such a, first of all, he creates a false problem, right? He says, it's such a big problem that if we study religion, something bad might happen. And there's no, that's the, even bases the title of the book on it. And there's no problem to studying religion. Study it. But don't try and create some kind of false problem and then spend pages and pages talking about, how dangerous it might be to study religion, and what the consequences might be, and what the right question might be and what the wrong question might be. He spends all his time running around inside of a paper bag. It's totally unnecessary. Anyway, we jump right into his digression that he starts on page 60. And you can see how subtle this digression is. He says that the theory of evolution, right? He says it's a well-established fact. And he says that it's such a shame that only a quarter of the population of the United States believe that evolution by natural selection is as well-established fact as water is H2O. First of all, either he doesn't know what the theory of evolution is, or he's just straight out lying. The theory of evolution is a theory. The reason it's a theory is because human beings weren't there to measure the primordial soup. Nobody was there. We can only theorize what happened before humans were on the earth to make observation. It's like trying to make a theory about life on a galaxy that we've never visited or can never hope to visit. Even that would be something better, because that's in the present. We're talking about making a theory about the past. So it's even more difficult than making a theory about something that we could never access. It's trying to make a theory about something that we can never access with measurements. It's unless you believe in time travel, then you could say, okay, well, this theory could one day be proven. But evolution is not proven. Darwinian evolution by natural selection. Darwin himself, when he wrote, he was more of an observational person. He was a zoological observation. He was a geologist. He did geological observation, and he did botanical observation. He took samples and all that kind of stuff. He was a real, person that did a lot of observation. But anyway, let's get back to this comment that he makes, that the theory of evolution by natural selection is as well established as the fact that water is H2O. That's a lie. That's not true. It's not a well-established fact. It's a theory. The Big Bang is a theory. We don't know how the universe started. The Big Bang seems to make sense. They say, well, this is a theory. That's why they call it a theory, because nobody can verify it. Nobody will ever be able to verify the Big Bang. The whole universe might have just appeared perfectly formed already or something. We don't know that, right? I think I make my point that the theory of evolution is a theory. And so by making this statement, he begins his process of trying to embarrass those that don't believe in the theory of evolution. And not only embarrass them, but try and dismiss them out of hand, right? And this whole digression, again, he creates another false problem. Who is to blame for this widespread misinformation among the population? Suppose the ministers of your faith assure you that evolution is a false and dangerous theory. Ministers of faith don't say that evolution is dangerous. Maybe some have, but he's creating a false problem. False and dangerous. He puts them both together. The theory of evolution may be false, but who's to say it's dangerous? Why is it dangerous? If it's a theory about something that happened in the past, there's no danger to that. If you want to entertain an idea, if you can lead it to causing dangerous results, then show the dangerous results. He tries to make that as the cornerstone of the dangerousness of religion, and good luck with that. The cornerstone of the danger of human behavior is the characteristics of human behavior, religion included. Could even be having theories of evolution, but let's just leave it at that. We all trust experts in many things, and these are your experts. But where did your ministers get this information? They didn't get it from scientists, right? He says, because there's not a single scientist, he says, that believes in the theory of evolution. And now look what he does. He says, he says scientific creationists and intelligence design, they've all been dismissed, right? Who have taken the trouble to penetrate their smokescreens of propaganda, right? He says that people that are scientific creationists and intelligent design proponents, right? They've all been carefully and patiently rebutted by conscientious scientists who have taken to the trouble to penetrate their smokescreens of propaganda. This digression is propaganda. What is propaganda? Let's backtrack for a second, okay? What is propaganda? Do we have a definition for it? Here we go. Propaganda. Information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Biased? Is Daniel Dennett biased? Of course he is. He's biased towards the theory of atheism, the religion of atheism. He wants to promote atheism as a worldview. Never call atheism religion, because you'll upset them. They'll get all upset and out of joint if you call it that. It's a belief system. He's biased. Or misleading nature. Is it misleading to say that the theory of evolution is about as well established as the fact that water is H2O? He gives himself an out. He says it's about as well established as the fact that water is H2O. Is that true? Of course it's not true. That's not true at all. It's not a well-established fact. The theory of evolution is a theory about something that can't be proven. So he's been misleading. What is misleading? Misleading is giving the wrong idea or impression, deceptive, confusing, deceiving, or to lie to. He's lying, right? And then he says a very interesting thing here. He says, if you disagree heartily with this flat dismissal, I happen to disagree heartily. He says, you have two good choices to consider. Either educate yourself in evolutionary theory, and he says the endnotes of the chapter will provide all the references you need to get going. It should only take a few months of hard work. So he says, if you don't agree, then you have to educate yourself in evolutionary theory. I've read Darwin. He says, oh no, but you need to take a couple of months and go through my notes in the back and what I consider to be valuable information and all the studies that I've looked at from Oxford University Press, where Richard Dawkins comes from in his domain, or suspend disbelief temporarily in order to learn what an evolutionist makes of religion as a natural phenomenon. In other words, or you have to wait until I'm finished giving my argument, right? Perhaps your time and energy as a skeptic would be better spent trying to get to the heart of this evolutionist perspective in search of a fatal flaw. It doesn't take long for me to find a fatal flaw in your reasoning, Dennett. You're giving an example yourself of propaganda. You're biased and you're misleading. Both. It's straightforward. Now, you mentioned in those notes where you say it's going to take a few months of hard work, Willim Dembski, but you don't even mention the name of his book or the name of any of his books that have been accepted into peer-reviewed journals. And you say, oh, those don't count. There's no scientists that don't believe in evolution. No, not a one, you said. That's what he says here. Not a one. He separates it into a separate sentence. That's a lie. That's not true. Willim Dembski wrote a book called Intelligent Design, The Bridge Between Science and Theology. Have you read that book, Mr. Dennett? You propagandist yourself? So this digression in chapter 3 is extremely important to address. Extremely important. Because the title of this book is a misnomer, right? Breaking the spell. As if he's going to spend all his time addressing the question about whether it's okay to study religion or not. Of course it's okay to study religion. You can study whatever you want. But the title of the book should be How to Disbelieve God. It's his struggle to dismiss God from the equation. And God is usually associated with religion. And what religion is he most familiar with? Even though he mentions Judaism and Islam and things like that, the one that he most recognizes is the Christian religion. And this is the one that he wants to attack. The title of the book should be called Attacking Christianity. It'd be pretty straightforward. It would be a lot more honest than the current title. Just like the selfish gene should be called Dismissing God. Right? It's not hard to see the motivations of these atheists. Christopher Hitchens, the same thing. Right? The title of his book shouldn't be God is Not Great. It should be I'm Disappointed in God. Sam Harris, his title of his book should be If I Were God, I'd Do It Much Better. Sam Harris is you can see the theme in his books. If I was God, I wouldn't do it like that. That's the theme of Sam Harris' books. Each of them, each and every one of them, have a problem with the God of the Judeo-Christian religion, the Abrahamic religions, the Muslim religion included. They all have a problem with that particular God. They don't like that. And they want to associate that with all the atrocities that have occurred through the history of humanity. Okay, not all of them, but a significant number of them, most of them. And maybe they have a valid point in that religious belief is associated with a lot of horrible, bad activity. Absolutely. But their solution for it is not to seek for any type of genuineness in a relationship to God. Their solution for it is to dismiss all of it outright and get rid of it, all of it outright. And they think they're serving the public good by doing so. Their claims are that if you rid human society of all religion, then you're going to improve human society. Their view of an ideal, perfect, harmonious society is a society that is atheist. This is their view. And they're not very upfront about that, but they're trying to achieve that goal through a serpentine route, right? They're using wordplay, they're using intimidation, they're using propaganda, they're using deception, and they're trying to reach that end goal. They're just very circuitous. I don't know how to say that word in their direction. So, sorry for trying to keep warm out here. But anyway, I think that's very clear to see, but a lot of people will miss it. Obviously, his students that reviewed the work that he claims he presented to them to catch errors obviously didn't see things like that when he is blatantly being misleading in his presentation. I think it's very easy to see that. And the bias comes out glaring. He has glaring bias, right? And so if you disagree, let me know why you think that way. Let me know if you agree with Daniel Dennett. You think he's the cat's pajamas. I'd love to hear back from you. But chapter 3 so far, his true colors come out in vivid detail. So, I mean, if you want to listen to propaganda and a biased, misleading view from a person that has no contribution towards reaching harmony with God whatsoever, it dismisses it out hand, then that's what you're faced with in reading this book. So far, it's, what can I say that's good about it? It's modestly pleasant reading. It avoids the obfuscation and wordplay of Richard Dawkins, and it avoids the abject depression and depravity of Hitchens. So in that sense, so far, it's reasonably pleasant to read. However, you can see his bias, you can see his misleading directives, and you can see his use of propaganda. And he started the fight. He starts by saying, these guys are full of propaganda. Well, it's the pot calling the kettle black so far, from what I've seen. So I've passed through chapter 3. I'm on what page am I on now? I'm on page 84 or something. And I read the appendix from the Encyclopedia of Evolution at the back, which is extremely boring and unnecessary. That's it for this video on Daniel Dennett. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you. Be careful what you read out there, and make sure you do your best. Thank you. God bless you.